Stop overpaying for seasonal decor. Today on Crave Your Home, we're turning budget finds into a high-end spring porch makeover. I'll show you how to DIY an urn-style planter, turn a $4 tablecloth into designer pillows, and create a custom home sign for pennies. I'm even sharing my secret trick to make cheap dollar store flowers look 100% real. We're mixing 6 genius budget hacks with one HomeSense Splurge for the ultimate curb appeal without the price tag. If you want a designer look for less, you're going to love this. Let's get started. The first DIY is one of my faves that you can use all year long. I started with a scrap piece of wood I had in my garage. It's about 3 to 4 feet high. I bought the letters H, M, and E at Walmart for a few bucks, and the wreath is from Dollarama. I also bought these screw-in utility hooks to attach the wreath to the sign, allowing you to switch out the wreath for different occasions. The only other things we will use are wood glue and spray paint. We're going to start by spray painting the letters black, but before that, I have to talk about this Rust-Oleum spray paint handle that is a game changer for spray painting. It attaches to the can and essentially will turn it into a paint sprayer, making it so much easier to hold, and it gives you a nice even coating. I've linked it in my Amazon outdoor must-haves in the description if you want to find one yourself. For the board, I'm using white paint. A tip for you Canadians watching is to buy your spray paint at the Great Canadian Dollar Store or at Piper's. They usually have spray paint for $4 to $5 a can, and it's perfect for these type of projects and will save you a ton of money because spray paint has gotten quite expensive. Once everything is dry, we're going to attach our letters with some wood glue. Make sure you leave a space for the wreath for the O. And then we're just going to use our utility hooks, screw that right into the board, and then we can attach our wreath. And we have the cutest home sign that you can leave outside all year and just change the wreath for whatever occasion you want. Now this bench I have had for years. It started as black, I've spray painted it blue, pink, and now white. And I've also linked similar benches to my Amazon outdoor must-haves that I will put in the description below. But it definitely needs some cushions. So for our next DIY, we are going to make this bench look high-end with our DIY cushions. If you have not seen these tablecloths from Dollarama yet, you need to go get one. They are indoor outdoor, they are a really nice material, they're not the hard plastic, and they are going to be perfect for some high-end looking DIY cushions. So you're going to start with spreading the tablecloth out evenly. I have some old outdoor cushions that have faded and definitely need an update. I'm just going to measure by eye, leaving about 1/2 inch to 1 inch on either side to allow me to join the edges. We don't need precise measurements for this DIY, so don't worry about that. I'm using the first piece as a template, and then I'm going to cut out 3 more pieces, so I have 4 in total to cover 2 cushions. Then I want you to flip your material so that the patterns are facing towards each other. Then we're just going to make your life easier, put the finished edges where there's a hem together, and they're going to be the last seam that I glue together. Next, I'm going to start hot gluing the 2 edges together. I'm going to do that around all 3 sides. Then when all 3 sides are together, I'm going to flip it right side out. Insert your pillow, and you can see that the finished edges are going to be really easy to glue together. Once you have glued the last edge, you have your finished pillow. I love how these pillows turned out. I find that they give a really nice neutral look to the porch, and I can add any color with them. So I can use these throughout the summer and into the fall as well. I also have these aqua color lumbar pillows. These were actually a Mother's Day gift from my daughter, and I love them. I put 2, but they were taking up too much space, so I think I actually just like the one there instead. Odd numbers are more pleasing to the eye anyway, so I'm going to take one away and use that probably on the back patio. Okay, you are going to want to write down this next hack because it is going to save you so much time and energy at the dollar store trying to find flowers that look real. So most fake flowers look fake because they're too bright, too perfect, or too plastic looking. So I always use my real method before buying them. Realistic greenery, earthy colors, authentic shape, and layered texture. So for instance, let's look at these ferns. Ferns are hugely popular this year. You want to find the ones that have the two-tone green, so the lighter green and the darker green in the middle. That is much more realistic than say these flat one-tone green shiny ferns. You want to stay away from shine. You also want to stay away from neon colors. So like the daisies could look realistic, but they have this neon yellow center that's a dead giveaway. You also want to go for colors and flowers that you would see in a garden or nursery. So like these pansy lookalikes, they have various colors in them, which makes them more realistic looking, and you would see these at a nursery. So you want to ask yourself that question all the time too. Now these rubber looking flowers are really popular this year. They are great because they're fade resistant, so they won't lose their color in the sun. And they're really good for an outside pot as well. So I love these light pink ones. Light muted colors work much better as well. You want to stay away from anything neon. And finally, when you're doing a pot outside, you want to stick to the same kind of flower. So it's not a bouquet inside where you'd put a lot of variation, maybe 2 or 3 different flowers. That's about it. So these lilac stems are really good as well. So for my pot, I'm found these light pink ones. I love how they move in the breeze. That's going to make them look realistic outside as well. So I'm going to get a bunch of those, and I'm going to get a bunch of the ferns, and we're back to the porch. So my trick for doing my pots outside, I've seen a lot of different methods. So some people use pool noodles and stick the flowers in those. Other people I've seen use a floral foam. We have a ton of wind here in Newfoundland, so I need something that's going to keep the pot heavy and keep the flowers in place. So I actually just use soil. I get a bag of soil at Dollarama, fill up the pot with that, and then I stick the floral stems directly into the soil. I find it keeps them in place the best, and it keeps the pot nice and sturdy on the step. So what you want to do is you want to bend the stems so that the flowers are shorter. You want them at the right height for your pot so that they look natural. And then I'm going to spread them out a little bit because flowers will grow and spread. They're not remember, it's not a bouquet, it's an outside pot. It's different than what you would do inside your home. So I'm going to fill up the pot with those. Then normally when you're doing an outside pot, I've heard a lot of times you'll hear of a thriller, a filler, and a spiller. So these pink flowers are going to act as my thriller and my filler. So I'm going to fill up the pot with those. Then I bought these green plastic vines at Dollarama. They remind me of the real flower Creeping Jenny. They're quite long, so I'm going to trim them at various lengths around the pot, but they're going to act as my spiller. So again, that's just going to give it a bit more variation, and I find it makes it more realistic looking to have 2 or 3 different kinds of flowers. But again, that's the most that you want to do in there, 2 or 3 max, to make it really look realistic. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and give a hype. They really help small channels like mine. This next high-end DIY is one of my favorites. I found these fluted pots at the dollar store. They come in various sizes, so you're going to want to get 2 sizes, one of the smaller one and one larger one. So I have a 15 liter and a 24 liter. So to make our outside urn, we're going to take the smaller tub, put it upside down. Then I'm just going to use E6000, put it right around the rim. And then I'm going to stick the larger pot on top of the smaller one. So it's similar to how I made the table in my previous bathroom video. If you want to check that out, I'll link it right here. But this is going to give us an urn style planter. So instead of having 2 of the same size pot, the smaller pot on the bottom gives it more of that urn style, which is a more high-end look. Then, like the other one, I'm just going to fill it with my soil, and then I'm going to stick my ferns right down into the soil. And again, this will make it nice and heavy so I don't have to worry about it blowing into the neighbor's yard on our windy Newfoundland spring days. Next, I found this hack. I love these beach mats at Dollarama. They're $4.75. I love the aqua color one. And I have seen so many front porches where they have a nice big accent mat by the door with the core mat on top of it. So I thought that this beach mat would be perfect for that. Because it's outdoors anyway, it will be fine for out on the front step. And then I got my core mat to put on top of it, and I just love the accented aqua color. The best core mats that I have found around are at Walmart. So these ones are Better Home and Gardens. They're only $9.88 each, and they have a lot of variety in the styles and colors. So for $9.88, I think that's the best price that I've seen, and you can match it with pretty well any decor. Now, all that was left was a front door wreath, and while normally I would DIY one, I found this beauty at HomeSense. It was $50. It has the Real Touch flowers that are fade resistant, and it was just icing on the cake. Since spring in Newfoundland can still be quite gray and misty, I love how the aqua and light pink give a pop of color even on a gloomy day. And speaking of our Newfoundland weather, yes, I will stain our step, but right now it just gets too cold and wet in the night, but I just couldn't wait any longer to decorate the porch. So I had to get it all together. The staining will have to come later, but I love how this turned out. It feels so nice and bright and welcoming when I come home, and I hope to any of our guests that come to our home as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the DIYs and the high-end tips and the mixing of the highs and the lows. Let me know what you will be buying and what colors you love to do on your outside porch. Make sure you like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And if you want to check out some of my best spring finds at the Dollarama, check out the video right here.